Hello and welcome to Thoughts from the Green Room with your host, Geoff Mays. This week's topic, goal setting. Now, over the years, I have been privy to, part of, and involved in the conversation that says actors don't have any control over their future. That we are unable to set goals and achieve those goals because everything boils down to the luck of the draw. This lucky draw sits in the power and the hands of the casting agents who may or may not call us in, and if we are called in, then they may or may not cast us. In essence, if I one day want to work with some great actor such as Leonardo DiCaprio or Brad Pitt or Meryl Streep, I can put that on a piece of paper, but I can't really personally make that happen. In contrast, and this is where the challenge I think comes from, if I work a traditional job, let's say I'm working the mailroom for some company, and I decide that I want to become a supervisor of the mailroom. Well, through open communication with my supervisor to find out what is required of me, taking any classes or courses that may be required to upgrade my skills to get there, doing my existing duties diligently and appropriately. When it comes time for review, whether it be annual, quarterly, biannual, whatever it may be, when it comes time for review, having done all the appropriate steps, I am now in line for promotion. I may be weighed against 2 or 3 other employees who want the same position, who are in like mind that I am, but I have a greater opportunity to set my goal and say I'm going to become the mailroom supervisor by fulfilling the existing requirements. If I don't get it in round number 1, well, I can apply again. I can take more courses. I can better communicate with my supervisor to find out why I didn't get it, what I have to do in order to achieve it, and then the following review, I'm in line for achieving it once again and potentially can get it. In this fashion, the traditional workforce, once you're employed in a particular position, has a greater level of control over how they can further themselves, engage themselves more with their jobs, and set tangible goals to achieve more in their life based on personal desire. Actors, in the contrast to that, are stuck with this idea that if I want to work with Meryl Streep or Harrison Ford or Tom Cruise or whoever that big name is that I want to work with, it's up to me, A, finding a project that they're working on, B, getting submitted by my agent for that project or submitting myself for that project, C, having enough clout to be seen by the casting director, D, get called in by the casting director, and then finally it sits in the hands of the casting director. It's not like I can just say I'm going to work with Meryl Streep and I'm going to go and talk to a casting director about how to get there and then take the 6 courses I need to do with certain acting teachers and all of a sudden I get cast with Meryl Streep. It doesn't work that way. It's got a greater level of competition and much less control, more appropriately not less control, but a much less direct and a much less tangible path. Now, I, like many actors, have bought into this idea that we've got no control. And over the last couple of years, I've been re-evaluating this idea of actors not having control, and I'm starting to disagree with it. I've already expressed where I do agree with it in some respect, how it's not the same path. But I'm starting to disagree with it in the fact that I think actors have much greater control. It's perception of what they control, however, that needs to shift. As an actor, it's important for me, in my opinion, to grow for myself. In order for me to work with a Meryl Streep or a Tom Cruise or whoever that big name is that I want to work with, I need to continually evolve myself and get better at my craft, get more exposed to people in the industry who will be able to see my craft, and continue to push forward where I'm putting myself in the forefront of everybody's mind constantly and continually. By doing so, then I have greater opportunity to be called in by a casting agent, be seen by somebody who says they'll fit this project, and work that more tangible path. How do I do that? How do I all of a sudden become in line to work with Meryl Streep? I think it boils down to setting realistic goals that will allow me to improve on my craft, right? First off, I think it's great. I'm going to use the Meryl Streep as the example. I want to work with Meryl Streep. This is a huge, exciting, lofty goal. I should put that on paper. Put it out there to the universe and say, universe, I want to work with Meryl Streep, and make that a lofty goal. Now, given my existing status right now as an actor, what is a reasonable time frame for me to achieve working in a film with Meryl Streep? I'd say 7 years right now, today. So 7 years from now, I want to work with Meryl Streep. There we go. It's out there. It's to the universe. It's put on my goals list. But how do I get there? Do I sit and wait for my agent to call? No. We have to go back to today. Smaller goals, little things. What can I do on a consistent basis to make myself a stronger, more reliable, better actor? What steps do I have to take? Do I need to take a class? Do I need to take several classes? Should I spread myself out and start doing improv? Should I work stage combat? Take stunt classes? I'm throwing out arbitrary examples to get people thinking. What do you need to do to get better? And make those small goals consistent steps towards your bigger goals. So, in this example, I think more classwork would be vital in order to get my audition technique better. So, I'm going to set myself a goal that this year I'm going to achieve 2 or 3 audition technique classes from different instructors so I get different perspectives so that my auditioning techniques are better. Right? From there, maybe I need to do more in-depth scene study. So part of my goals for 6 months down the line are going to be more scene study classes. Maybe I don't interact with enough actors. Maybe I'm too reclusive. So I'm going to put on my goals list, go to networking events and look for networking events through social media and through various contacts that I have. Setting that to be a goal. I went to 2 last year, so this year I'll go to 5. You get the idea where I'm going. Each thing is going to help me to become a better, stronger actor, somebody more prominent in the scene, and in so doing, getting closer to my larger goals. A lot of people say it's futile because they still don't have any control over the casting agent, and I've been thinking about it, as I said, and I tend not to believe that as much. If I am out doing those networking events, and somebody talks to me about, an upcoming project, and they say, hey, Geoff, I think you might be right for this. Can you come in and audition for me in a couple weeks when I've got the casting process in place? Well, sure I can. So I go in there and I blow them out of the water. I do an amazing job. Why did I do an amazing job? Because I took those audition technique classes. Now, of course, I get on set and everything is great, and once again, I do an amazing job. Why? Because I set my goals to become stronger with my scene work. So my breakdown of the film becomes better, and the scene work that I do in the film is that much better. And it turns out that this one little short that I do ends up at some awards ceremony, and I get nominated for Best Actor. Wow, that never happened before. But because I set some goals, I achieved Best Actor. So as Best Actor now on my resume, I'm a little bit more prominent. Somebody sees that, contacts my agent, and says, I'd like to see Geoff for something else. You're getting where this is going. This momentum begins to build, but the only way it builds is by self-reflection. Let's go for this trajectory 3 years down the line. I've been getting more work because I've been setting small goals along the way to make myself better, to improve myself as an actor. And 3 years down the line, I now have 2 Best Actor awards, a nomination, and one of the independent films I did got fortunate and is opening at Cannes. Wow, how did that happen? All those little goals. So given this status that I now have and all the introductions that happen at Cannes and everything like that, I take a look at my long-term goal list and say, Meryl Streep, 7 years, it's been 3 years since my last. Well, it seems more plausible that I could be working with Meryl Streep, given this trajectory, 2 years from now. 1 year or 2 years closer than my original 7-year timeline. So, change my goals, adapt my goals. What I'm getting at here, and by this example, is the idea that I still agree that we're somewhat at the whim of a casting agent. our own agents in the submission process to get us in the room. But once we're in the room, it's up to us to do the job and demonstrate our skill set and win the day by doing the right audition, by doing the best audition or the audition most suited for that role, right? And in order to do that, I can't just sit on my ass and do nothing. Like the employee example who wants to become the mailroom supervisor, I need to talk to the supervisor and figure out what's necessary to get there, and then fulfill those steps through little goals. This same conversation could be had with my agent in terms of acting about where I want to be and what is necessary for us to work together in order to achieve those goals. Maybe it's another example is the idea of getting more films on the resume, so just applying for short films because they're a smaller pool and maybe easier access to my skill set at the time to build the resume. So the agent then focuses on getting short films and submissions for that. So there's a greater devotion to one area in order to achieve a short-term goal. All in all, as much as we're sitting at the whim of a casting agent to say, yes, you're the right one, the one person that we're not sitting at the whim of is ourselves. To be more tangible, more accessible to that casting agent, then we have to continue to work on ourselves. Now, there's one other aspect that I think is important about being an actor and setting goals, and that's taking active control of the things that you can do for yourself. What other things do you enjoy doing and do you want to get better at? Maybe you've got a hankering to learn how to play an instrument and you've been fiddling around on the guitar for a little while. Maybe it's time to take guitar lessons and start going to weekly lessons to get better at your guitar lessons so that you've got a new skill set. Maybe you enjoy photography. It's time to take a photography class or start hanging around with friends who do photography. My point here is that, yes, it's important for us to have goals as actors and work to become the starring role beside Meryl Streep. But it's equally important to grow as a human being and set goals for self-growth, guitar, photograph, whatever it might be. Maybe it's just reading more, who knows? But set personal goals that way, because the richer we are as a human makes us richer as actors, because there's more experience to draw on. There's more things to infuse our characters with to make our characters stronger and make us more powerful in front of the camera on the stage. So to all those actors who are sitting out there fighting themselves, saying, I can't get anywhere because I can't get into the room, I think it's time that you do some self-reflection. It's my opinion. You don't have to take it. You can throw it out the window. But I encourage you to do some self-reflection and see what you can do to make yourself more viable to get into that room. That's going to get you that position or that audition that will one day lead you to be working with whoever it is you want to be working with. This self-reflection that leads to growth, I believe, can be done by anyone. It has a much more tangible path for a traditional job set, but it is not removed from the artist's path. And with that said, those are your thoughts from the green room. I'm your host, Geoff Mays, and I will see you in just a few weeks.